success look like for Pep Guardiola ahead of this season? I've got a monster on this because he's won Premier Leagues, he's won domestic trophies, he's won something pretty much the whole time he's been here. But what does success look like now for City? Is it simply regaining the title? Is it Champions League success? Or what's your expectations of Pep to walk away from this season and you say, well, he turned it around and he went out on a high?
Although to me, because I think after this season he's going to leave. Although to me, winning the Premier League for them is still successful either way. You can't rule that out as not successful. He has to win a Champions League. If he doesn't, then he just hasn't met the expectations of what he was hired to do. Not saying he wasn't a failure. He just hasn't met that expectation. They don't care about the league at this point. They care about the Champions League. If he doesn't win that, he hasn't met their expectations. That's my opinion.
Yeah, what do you make of that, Stro? I mean, he's won everything domestically, but I would say he's been a failure in the Champions League with Man City. Do you expect that to be the main focus for him next year?
It has to be, because think about it. The managers before Pep came in were winning the trophies that Pep's already won. The League Cup and FA Cup. The one thing that he was brought in to do was to win them a Champions League. He's not done that. That's failure. Klopp was brought into Liverpool not to win us a Champions League, to win us the league for the first time in 30 years. He's achieved that. We now need him to kick on. For City, they have to go and win a Champions League. I mean, they got knocked out against us, knocked out against Tottenham, which they should have won. Leon, this season was their best season to do it. They knocked out Real Madrid. Leon, I'm sorry, that Manchester City team have to go and beat that Leon team. It's as simple as that. It wasn't good enough.
Should have.
That's what I mean. It's just
like, wasn't it?
It's complete. Yeah. It's complete utter failure for him in the Champions League, and he's not won it since he had that Barcelona team. So questions need to be asked there. But yeah, if they win the league again, I still think it's not a successful season, because he was solely brought in to win the Champions League. He has to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I think Pep as a manager as well has to have European success with another club. When you think about, if you look in the modern day era that we all remember watching, I know Fergie won 2 European Cups with Man United, but people forget that he had massive success in Europe with Aberdeen. So prior to that, and you're talking about when winning that version of the UEFA Cup was huge. I want to say UEFA Cup might have been Cup Winners' Cup. I'm sorry about my knowledge is off, but winning it in those days, it was gigantic.
Jamie Carragher said it was a trophy for the teams that are coming up, and it was respected because all the small teams were winning it, and that's the teams that are coming up in the European stage.
Yeah, I mean, but what I mean is that was a trophy where, now when teams win the Europa League, everybody plays it down. Back in the 80s and even up until like the late 90s, the Cup Winners' Cups and the UEFA Cups, they were considered serious. The only time it was devalued is when the money got all put into the Champions League, where in comparison to winning that tournament, the Champions League, suddenly you were getting hundreds of millions of pounds getting into the latter stages, where if you won the Europa League, financially going out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League is better for you financially than winning the Europa League. It never used to be that way. So clubs put more emphasis on it. Clubs cared more. So the point I'm making is in the modern day era, if you think about all the great managers who are spoken about in that sort of best in class, the Ancelottis, the Fergies, the Jose Mourinhos, they've had that European success in a couple of places. And I think that Pep, like all those people, is arrogant enough and egotistical enough to know that he has to achieve that. Doesn't mean he won't leave and do it elsewhere. But again, is he going to go to there are very few clubs out there who are going to have the budgets that Man City do. There's pretty much Paris Saint-Germain outside of that, where you think that's the only place I think he can go to where he can guarantee having the best players in that league. He's never going back to Barcelona with the
maybe Juventus.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe Juve.
He could go Juve. I don't know if he's... yeah, he could do. Juve is an option. I mean, the thing I'd love to see Pep do when he leaves City is go AC Milan and rebuild them. But he just doesn't feel like a rebuilder to me. It almost feels like I'm going to go in... He's the kind of manager that would have taken over Liverpool just as you were signing Van Dijk, when you were just about to become good, and then he takes you to that next level. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have taken over Liverpool when Klopp did. He wouldn't have taken over Man United when Oli did. Do you get where I'm coming? He's almost that, I'll come in when the going's good and try and improve on that. I'm not going to come in and try and build it up from scratch.
When when you like look throughout his career, like in Barcelona, he took over from Frank Rijkaard, who, let's be honest, before Frank Rijkaard came to
They'd won the
Barcelona,
Champions League 2 seasons before as well.
Yeah, they Barcelona went into turmoil when Rijkaard came in, and then when he came in, they won a Champions League. Ronaldinho was the main guy. They would bring up Messi. They got Xavi and Iniesta. They were all bringing them up, and also in Bayern Munich, they just bought Mario Götze, who was the most sought out young German player,
and they had just won the treble.
Yeah, exactly.
Season before.
Yeah, and look, City didn't have the greatest season before he arrived, but Man City have been in a good space since about 2009. There's been no point in that period where you've gone, City are in turmoil, City are in trouble. In terms of an individual season, you've gone, not so good this year. But it's always turned itself around. David, from your point of view, do you think expecting them to win the Champions League for it to be a successful season is a little bit too much? Or if they only bring in a Premier League, and we say only like none of us would want our teams to do that, is it disrespectful of us to say that that's not enough for Man City and Pep?
It's not. For me, when it comes to Pep, it's more about he just needs to stop being stupid in that league, in that Champions League. Like all year, he's can't field 2 centre backs yet. He gets to the quarterfinal against a team he's superior against, and he plays 3 centre backs. Like, stop trying to do like this special thing where he's always trying to prove a point of, I'm so good tactically. Play the system that you've been playing all year, that works, and win it that way. I don't like if he was to get knocked out in the semis, but he wins a Premier League and an FA Cup. I wouldn't exactly call his time a failure. I just wouldn't say he didn't reach its maximum potential, because then he's going to leave City with 3 Prems, 3 Carabao Cups, and 2 FA Cups. So I wouldn't call it a failure, but I just said he hadn't reached the potential that we all thought he could.
Yeah, there's a comment here as well. It just going back to the 90s here from Mumbai Indian says that the 90s rules were different in the Champions League. You were only allowed 3 non-English players to be in the starting 11. The rest had to be English. And look, that rule, my understanding, was the same for everybody. Every country, like, you can only have 3 non-Spanish players, non-so-and-so. But again, go through the early 90s, the way English players have developed, we just weren't technically as good as our European counterparts. And it did impact all British teams. Plus, and this isn't a poke at anybody, this was due to decades of fan problems. England were also off the back of, I don't know how long the ban was, I want to say 4, 5, maybe 6 years of not being able to play in Europe. That also means 6 years. You had 6 years where no English team was able to go toe-to-toe with their European counterparts. Remember how long it took City to even look like they were at the races when they first started getting into the Champions League, because as a club, they just weren't used to that European competition. That also had to be taken into consideration for the English teams, because there was that kind of hiatus. And, listen, there's so many reasons as to why England weren't allowed in that. A lot of people like to just put it straight on Liverpool, but trust me, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. However, it wasn't that one incident, and it was like it was decades.
There was always a thing
of
English
fans of all clubs, and then internationally that led to that. And it must be. You always think about this. Teams that won league titles from like 1986 through to like the early 90s. I wonder how they feel. Like the players that were at their peak in that 6-year period, not being able to go into the Champions League. Because it's never the players' fault or even the club's fault. It was always fans. Like, you think about that. You've potentially taken away European success, and almost, like you see like European success. Some players, it propels you into sort of next levels of stardom and fame forever, and that was taken from some people. Just even playing in that tournament, some people's careers would have been over before that was done. But that's a completely separate conversation for another day. Of course, you had the City fan a few moments ago with the super chat as well that said, "Why are you lot concerned about City winning the Champions League, the Premier League every single day of the week?" Do you think, Ram, that City fans' dismissal of the Champions League almost plants a seed of doubt or gives an excuse to Man City not being successful in that tournament?
Yeah. Like me and Monster said, it's the creme de la creme of football, and Man City want to be a part. Let's be honest, Man City want to be a part of the elite sides in England, so like the Uniteds and the Liverpools.
And Chelsea.
To do that, and Chelsea. But to do that, you have to win the Champions League. Like, you won the league, you dominated nationally. Let's see if you can go continentally.